It almost must be a little bit bizarre for this coaching staff having so many new pieces, but trying to build this chemistry as they get themselves into the long summer stretch before we head ourselves into more D1 action come fall. This is, of course, an exhibition battle, but I'd expect to see a high level of play from both these teams, especially from Green Bay. I know they want to represent their conference well here this evening.
Yeah, you talked to the head coach earlier in this week, and just the importance of using this game as an opportunity to take another step in the right direction. It's the beauty of spring ball. It doesn't go towards your fall record, but it's a great opportunity to get your team to start meshing together. So when you pick up in the fall, it's not like you have to start all over again.
This is Emma Johnson to get us going for Phoenix. From the field house, we are officially underway. Badgers get to work, and a big swing, and just like that, Wisconsin gets themselves on the board.
Beautiful
swing belongs
there
to Madison Quest, and she has been a highly touted freshman for this team.
Yeah, Madison Quest, the freshman from Pewaukee, Wisconsin, the beautiful swing just over the block of Green Bay. Had no chance at that one.
Hit 400 against Marquette. And this building was full last week. Wisconsin swept Marquette in 3. And almost an ace, but a sprawling save made. And now it'll get out of bounds. Badgers up 2-0.
Well, Green Bay was in scramble mode there, Vince, right off of the serve. Kennedy Schmitz unable to properly dig that one out, and Phoenix start this one behind 2-0.
Schmitz will be the libero for the Phoenix this evening. That's Katie Scholes, or pardon me, Addie Horner, the one who's serving. Green Bay powers that one, and it will just barely get out of bounds. Badger point.
Great swing there from Kirsten Fish. Tipped off the top of the Wisconsin block and out of the reach for any Wisconsin Badgers there.
Almost a little bit of confusion from the line judge there. They weren't exactly sure what point it was just because there's such a celebration from Green Bay after that. It's clear that they've played some exhibition games. They played in a tournament the other day. Very unofficial, wasn't scored, but it's clear that this team, they're just excited to get back to it, and why not? Because it just is the best game on the planet.
Yeah, and you have that build-up, Vince, where it doesn't feel like you're kind of throwing themselves in the fire here with this Wisconsin matchup. You have these scrimmages, and you kind of put yourself in a position where you start to establish a bit of identity. So you come into the competition like this today, you have a sense of direction of this is what we want to accomplish, knowing what we've had over the course of these past couple weeks here in spring ball, and just an opportunity to go to compete and play in one of the best venues in the country.
All right, let's get another look at it. And I guess the question is, did it touch off of any Badgers? That was Kirsten Fish with the swing. An early challenge here. We'll talk about this Green Bay Phoenix squad a bit because 16-17 last year, 11-7 in conference. They came so close to winning their second conference title under head coach Abby Sutherland.
Yeah, and that make it back-to-back years the Phoenix have been in the conference championship game and unable to capitalize on either of them. But you talked to Sutherland about that, and she really turned that into kind of an optimistic viewpoint of, hey, we know what it's like to be there. We've experienced it, and I think that's one of the great things about it is now that you know what it's like, it's just about capitalizing down the stretch, and then you're a champion.
Ultimately fell to Cleveland State in that championship game, but they played a whole lot of sets, 14 to be exact, over those 3 games. They gutted out a win against Wright State in the semifinals. So signs of progress here for the Phoenix. They lose some players, but also bring some back. That's kind of the nature of college sports this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we talked about this. It looks like they're going to award that point to Green Bay, Vince.
Yeah, and it felt like Green Bay, they were pretty sure that was a point, a quick challenge. And yeah, based on that replay, it felt like that might have gotten a touch off the Badgers. In fact, pretty definitively it did. And so Green Bay set to serve. This is Katie Schultz. Talk about her in the open out of Appleton, Wisconsin. Now that's Quest again. Just powers that one into the student section. Early Subi.
Great swing there from Quest, and just puts that one right at the hips of Katie Schultz. Tad out of position from Schultz there, unable to corral that one.
And this Badger coaching staff has been so impressed with what Quest has given them. #1 recruit out of Wisconsin. They'll have her freshman season this fall. And Sonia's usually used to playing on the left side, but now switched back to right. And you can immediately see the dividends with, of course, that injury to Lopez. Expect to be playing a bit this regular season for the Badgers. Nice rally going here. Poked up in the air, Booth with the set, and Fearbringer has to push it over. Big swing and out of bounds.
Best trying to play that one down the line, and unfortunately doesn't get it to sit down in the corner there. Nice rally, though, from Green Bay, hanging around here from Wisconsin, making them earn their points.
And this will be one of a Hayek, pardon me. They're swinging some from Best. It's a good one. but fielded well. Good block by Phoenix.
Fantastic job there on the block from Green Bay, just walling up that Wisconsin attack. And you talk about that with the length of Green Bay, and talking to Coach Sutherland earlier this week about the impact of being able to be complementary volleyball players playing on both ends, and you see that on full display there.
And Trey, that was Mimi Collier on the swing. This time Booth able to fire right through a block, could not get up in time. Gotta give some credit though to Green Bay going back to that last point. Not too often you see Mimi Collier get blocked.
Yeah, that's not something she's been used to. Obviously, you talk about her storied career, but on the flip side for Green Bay, that's also a positive. You understand the game plan and you watch film on these players. Collier, having played 3 years prior, you kind of can understand some of their tendencies and trying to force them out of their comfort zone.
Just another one of those transfers, Grace Egan. Nice serve, but fielded well, pushed over the top. And Egan now to set it up. There's Collier again. Badger block goes up, but pushed out of bounds. Green Bay cuts the deficit to 2, and that's going to be another thing to keep an eye on for the Badgers. They've lost maybe as much block production, maybe production across the board as any team. They're able to fill a lot of their holes very well, but the block's still a bit of a work in progress with a lot of new moving parts.
Yeah, you lose 3 out of your top 4, blockers from last year. CeCe Crawford, Smrek, and Devin Robinson. It's not going to be easy when you lose that level of production that was at such a high level.
And Collier able to fire that one off the top of the block, something that Coach Kelly Sheffield just preaches that even if you're not set up for that hit, doesn't mean you got to make it easy for him if you're caught out of system.
It's experienced swing there from Collier. Again, you talk about not being in system, but just making a veteran play there for the Badgers.
Now here's the talented sophomore Charlie Feuerbringer. Of course, he'll be entering her sophomore season this fall. Nice slide, but a block made on the far side.
Yeah, look for Feuerbringer now in that, in that service line position. Had that big run in that Marquette scrimmage in the last contest, which included 4 service aces. Look for her again to continue to attack for Wisconsin.
And that was Tosha Serafinowska on that left side for the Badgers. Another Polish player. Wisconsin lost Julia Orzel last year, but another Pole to take her place. Badgers had good luck in that department. Collier push it right over the top.
Fantastic touch there from Collier, and kind of right over the top of the block and just out of the reach of that back right digger there from the Phoenix.
Collier already up to 2 kills on the day. Feuerbringer again, and that's the thing she's been trying to work on. When she gets it in, there's not too many people who can field it well, but it's a matter of getting it in. That's the big thing for her.
Yeah, it's all about control. You can control, Vince. Getting that ball into play, eliminate any, further mistakes that you can control on your end there, and got the best of Feuerbringer.
37 aces for Feuerbringer last year, but 58 errors. That'll be another error on Green Bay.
Yeah, just a couple of errors trading there and evening things up now as Wisconsin gets back in control.
Now Collier will head to the service line. This is something that Coach Sheffield loves to see, is having that full rotation player. And will it be an ace? Tough nonetheless. Green Bay caught out a system. Now the Badgers will get to work. Una Vahegic. Nice swing.
Great swing there from Vahegic. Just kind of jams Emma Best there. You talk about the impact for her as well, looking to be one of those freshman players for Kelly Sheffield's squad to just step in and have that immediate impact for the Badgers.
That'll be a service error on the Badgers. Interesting story for Vahegic. Out of Novi Sad, Serbia, had herself some big offers. Badgers kind of got caught into that cycle late, but they kind of learned about this really talented international player, and Coach Sheffield made the journey to visit her in person. He wound up getting himself a real nice recruit. That ball peppered by Vahegic out of bounds.
Yeah, and that's one of the impacts of, recruiting now with the game, obviously being established internationally, but now collegiately stretching beyond just the United States. Kelly Sheffield doing what he does best and getting on the recruiting trail and knowing that he's going to lose a ton of production from last year's squad has got to have a quick turnaround if Wisconsin wants to compete at a national level again this year.
And that's just a part of the game where coaching relationships are so gosh darn important, where Coach Kelly Sheffield, obviously he lives and breathes volleyball. There's only so much you can do in terms of just following the game, so not exactly grinding every single game that goes on in Eastern Europe. That said, you've got those connections with those coaches. They can kind of fill you in on some players. You keep an eye on this person. And that's how they were able to get a lot of those international recruits.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on an important thing, Vince, just about the impact of relationships. I think we live in such a, society now, especially in regards to college sports, that relationships are kind of at the top of, a player's, decision in picking a school. Do they feel like they can have a solid relationship with the coach? Not just the culture, as we get a look here on the replay.
Ooh, that's close.
Yeah, it's ball right down the line.
Oh boy, it'd be so tough to prove that didn't touch anyone there. That was Jessica Kirpikis on that right side line. Good camera angle from Maya there, straight down the line. You can kind of feel it's kind of a jovial atmosphere here. Pretty good crowd on hand. Lower bowl pretty much full, but Badger bench dance along to the tunes here. This really is just fantastic just for the state of Wisconsin. You get these exhibition battles, and yeah, you're trying to get that chemistry in order, but it's kind of a low-key environment, just having some fun playing a great game.
Yeah, it's the importance of, balancing that competitiveness as well as that, development from both squads here.
The Badgers will win the challenge. That'll up their lead to 6. Another thing to keep an eye on for the Badgers is Maylee Chan will be the libero. She was libero against Marquette last week as well. It's clear that the Badgers, they're very talented in the back row this year. It's kind of been something they've been looking to get better at. And there's going to be a whole lot of fun digs and defensive plays made. Green Bay's got to push it over. That's the aforementioned Chan setting it up. Now big back row swing. That's a kill. Collier again.
So we're going to get a timeout now from Abby Sutherland. Going to get her squad together, calm things down.
Well, just kind of starting to see a glimpse of what this Badger team wants to look like. Slow out the gate, still trying to get a few things in working order. Green Bay had themselves some nice runs, but for them to get some blocks, I'm sure they're liking that. Take a look at the all-time series history between these two teams. Wisconsin absolutely in the driver's seat, swept them last time out. That said, Green Bay, they've taken 2 sets in this series, so it's kind of one of those deals where Wisconsin, they think they can just kind of play around, try some crazy stuff. Green Bay is absolutely going to bite him in the behind here.
Yeah, that's one of the things to talk to Coach Abby Sutherland coming into this matchup. Just talk about how hard this group has been working and just the competitive nature of this group that she's been incredibly impressed with. You obviously can look at, the series history, but there's a reason that it's called history because it's in the past. And one of the things Sutherland wanted to emphasize coming into today's contest was just bring that competitive nature, not looking at the past or whatever, attention's been put on what team and just going out there and playing their game the best of their abilities.
I'm looking ahead to next year, Trey. It's okay if I steal that line. They call it series history because it's in the past. Did you just come up with that in the spot?
I mean,
it's kind of a bar.
I don't know. Maybe you could put that on my new album that's coming out. But
oh, jeez.
But no, it's interesting. I mean, again, it's you touched on this earlier, but it's just great to see the game of volleyball growing in the state, right? And you talk to Gary White, you talk to Southern alike, and they mentioned their schools as well as you have, Marquette, for example, UW Milwaukee, and just even schools at the Division II and III level in the state, and just the game itself that has really grown into become such a prominent sport, not only in the state now, but even at the national level. We're seeing that full display here in Wisconsin.
Gary White, the assistant head coach for the Badgers. And yeah, it's a good point, May. You talk about that Wisconsin, Marquette, UW Milwaukee, Green Bay, of course. But those WEAC teams, I mean, that's about as competitive as it gets at that D3 level.
I mean, you're talking about the WEAC, and you can't say WEAC without grit, Vince. And, certainly not a conference to sleep on.
Chang catches the Phoenix off guard. Now they'll go to Booth. Another kill, the name of Carter Booth. 2 years ago, she was prolific, hit over 400, led the nation in that category as well, top 3 in blocks per set. Bit of a dip last year that could be due to switching around the systems, but it's just something that this coaching staff has said is that Booth this year came in with an extra level of intensity in her final collegiate year. There she is on the block, and Chang sprawls out, makes a play. Another back row attack from Collier. This time it's received well. Tapped over the top. Nice dig. Green Bay got to give it back. Fearbringer to Booth. A little bit out of control there, still working on that chemistry. Now Booth trying to put up the block, instead it's off the block. It's a point for Green Bay.
Yeah, you see the point for Green Bay, but I give credit to the defensive side of things. Olivia Newman and Kirpakis laying out both there in that last opportunity and really just keeping the ball alive and in play for this Phoenix squad. Fantastic effort turning defense into offense for the visitors.
And that's kind of what Green Bay does. Is you look at some of their season stats, it's very close between them and the competition. And that'll be a point for the Badgers. But Green Bay just want to do every single thing just a little bit better than their opponent. And of course, that's a very good winning formula.
Yeah, and that's just what it is, Vince. I mean, you talk to any coach, and especially at this level, it's about doing the ordinary things exceptional, because that's what separates you and takes you to that next level. And, you see that on full display with both of these squads, just really trying to, again, control the little things and put themselves in position to be successful.
That was Masson Quest on the serve. Oh, Fuhrbringer push it over the top. Oh, my goodness.
And that Wisconsin attack giving Green Bay all they can handle. You see Schmitz laying out there with the great save, but this Badgers attack just keeps coming in waves.
Schmitz did a heck of a job, but not a spot you want to be in as you're in a joust against Carter Booth. Badgers 15-6 at this moment, hitting .526 on the set. Green Bay 0.59 in Wisconsin. That was kind of one of the things where they really want to come out and make an impression against Marquette last week. They hit .650 in that first set. Take a look at Green Bay Phoenix here. And yeah, that's what we said before, just somewhere, none of the numbers are truly going to blow your breath away, but none of them are bad either. As long as you're just consistently above average, as you said, it's a winning formula. They're a fantastic situational team. They're very well coached. So talk about how close they came to winning the Summit League last year. I think that they're more than anxious to get right back to it and try and take home that title. Knocking
on the door is the motto for Green Bay Phoenix, just about being able to answer the call when it's given. You see that kills per set, Vince, and while it's not a staggering number, it's important to know you do lose your second and third team leaders in kills with Shell and Banky from last year's squad. So, we obviously talked about Pitchelman coming in and obviously the impact that Scholes had. You're going to need to have a couple more players step up, and it's a great opportunity in this evening contest to see, who can play well on a big stage.
Green Bay lost their longtime setter, so it's going to be real fun to watch Emma Johnson throughout this contest out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Going to be entering her senior year, I believe, so kind of just next man up mentality. You've got all these players always waiting in the wing for that opportunity. You stick around these programs so you're able to take advantage of it. And now for Johnson, just getting on the same page with their talented outside hitters. It's going to be a real big key for Green Bay. And now look at Kennedy Schmitz there for a second. Now obviously Booth the one who got the kill, but Schmitz, she just went sprawling out on that last play. That was a heck of a maneuver just to keep that one from the ground. Quest skips it over the top. Now another joust push right back down. That was Booth and Vahegek teaming up.
Yeah, Vahegek and Booth there quickly sending that one back to the Phoenix side, and just quick enough for the Phoenix defense not be able to get there in time.
And serve receive has been an issue for the Badgers, something that Coach Sheffield has said he really wants his team to get better at. You're starting to see that they're catching Phoenix off guard a little bit. That said, a real nice swing from Katie Schultz.
You talk about Katie Schultz, you lose some production from kills last year, but she is, the offense that keeps on moving. Schultz there with a fantastic swing right in between the Wisconsin block.
Back row attack, and that'll be an error on Collier.
Yeah, Kyler trying to use the little touch for advantage, trying to get a peek right over the net, but not enough mustard on there, and a little bit of run here for the Phoenix.
And Collier quietly, 14 kills, also 7 errors against Marquette, good for a .219 hit percentage. So trying to get herself a little bit in gear. It's a great in cue, that's off the net.
Yeah, a couple tough looks there from Wisconsin. Not enough touch around the net there for the Badgers, as the momentum now on the side of the Phoenix here in this first set.
And for Collier, saw a story of how quick she was able to transfer to the Badgers, how quickly this school worked to make her an early enrollee. But sure, it's still got to be a bit of a culture shock, since spending so much time at Oregon, now a crop of new teammates. Green Bay able to power it by Quest.
Yeah, it looks like there's a little bit of communication there on that dig between Grace Egan and Charlie Fuhrbringer. That's just something that you got to be able to work those things out in a scrimmage opportunity like this. Communication is a huge part for Wisconsin and their success the last couple years.
That's a real nice hit there by Olivia Newman, freshman from Greensville, Wisconsin. Able to power that one right by Carter Booth. And even when Booth is all by herself on the block, she's more than capable of racking up some solo blocks to her name.
Yeah, Olivia Newman hit 273 last year, Vince, leading the team. And that's, again, one of those players you talk about the impact of the freshmen. Newman and Pitchelman are going to be a couple big offensive pieces for the group this year.
Green Bay hit 192 last year, Wisconsin 286. That said, hitting percentage for the opponents were kind of similar. 176 for Badger opponents, just a tick over 200 on the dot for Green Bay. We might have ourselves another challenge, I believe. Take a look at, couldn't get it right though. Now some substitutions being made. Don't think that was a challenge, just giving the Badgers an opportunity there to make some changes.
Well, elongated substitutions here. Just want to make sure they were going to get it right.
Yep. Katie Schultz on the serve. They'll go back to the Badgers.
The unfortunate spot there for the Phoenix. A nice 4-0 run now negated by a service error. And little things like that, Vince. Just control what you can control. Get the ball over the net, put the ball in play, and put the pressure on the defense.
That was interesting talking with Coach Gary White about that exact thing, is that Fierbringer, talk about how she had a lot of service errors last year. Nice point from Green Bay, but it's more a matter of sometimes you're kind of talking about the fundamentals, giving you so much to work on, where your elbow is, how you swing, where you hit it, how you hit it, with speed, that it kind of you overly think about it a bit. So for Wisconsin, kind of just that matter of, okay, well, obviously there's a lot to work on, but just do what you're capable of doing. Green Bay somehow able to give that one back to the Badgers. They'll try it once more. Back row attack and another fantastic dig. Green Bay for a highlight point. And that was too strong, out of bounds. But this is an exhibition, and Katie Schultz just went diving to the end of the hardwood. That was into the pavement.
Yeah, it looks like she stretched out on the concrete there, Vince. And, you know, there are no moral victories, but there is no question about the effort of Green Bay we've seen thus far in the first set. I mean, every ball they're laying out for, leaving no doubt about it. Unfortunately, the point goes to Wisconsin.
Something we talked about in the open is that'll be a service error. It'll go against Grace Egan. Is just that Green Bay, yeah, it's an exhibition. They've been so antsy to get that competition going, playing in the field house, the premier volleyball destination in Wisconsin. Maybe even the country, you could make that argument as well. So, yeah, an opportunity to make some plays here. You want to take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. But you also don't want to make it more than what it is. You know, it is also just a game played in between the lines here. So you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself. You also want to be able to enjoy the opportunity.
That was Best on the block. Now the Phoenix will get to work. Best again. Charlie Fierbringer set her dump perfectly placed. Another thing the Badgers want to add, where Charlie Fierbringer, she did that a lot last year, had some success at doing so, but now getting even more comfortable in this system. Expect a lot of that.
Yeah, had that entire front line block of the Phoenix fooled. Thought that she was looking to set up one of her teammates and just goes no look and no chance for the Phoenix defense.
Now as a reward, Fierbringer, another chance at the service line. And a kill for Best.
Fantastic touch there from Best over the top of the net through the block of Wisconsin. And again, just out of the reach of Quest there as she tries to make a lane effort to save, not in time.
First kill of the day for Emma Best on 7 attempts. This one's still going to be tough to get over the top. Can they do it? Yes, they can. Now Wisconsin back to work, and Collier says enough of that. But once more, Kennedy Schmitz is having herself a heck of a set one.
I mean, what else can you say, Vince? I mean, this Wisconsin team, every time, you know, Green Bay lays out and has this highlight reel set, Wisconsin just breaks their heart, and you saw that on display there. I mean, once again, fantastic effort from Green Bay, but just can't buy a point here.
And this is a really good opportunity for the Phoenix as well, just taking on this Badger team, well coached on offense, so much talent in that area as well. So if you want the opportunity to get yourself some practice, taking on the Badgers is a good way to do so. And that'll be fired out of bounds off Green Bay, point Badgers. Collier again to serve. Off the block, out of bounds. You can just see that roar from the side of Green Bay. Katie Schultz letting it rip off that Badger block.
Yeah, a little celebration there from Schultz at the end there. Great job playing that outside of the block, forcing that back out onto the line there for the Green Bay attack.
And Green Bay, at that point, they have surpassed what Marquette got in set one against the Badgers. Wisconsin took set one against Marquette 25-13. Now Green Bay up to 15.
Yeah, that's just the culture of Green Bay. They're just not really giving in here, just continuing to hang around here in this first set.
And it's a service ace. Diane Pitchelman.
Yeah, a little mishandle there from Collier on the attack from Pitchelman, and just no chance for a Badger to hold on to that one.
And Coach Abby Sutherland had a ton of great things to say about Pitchelman. Going to be a big part of this team. That'll hit off the net, but it will also scrape a bit of Green Bay.
Yeah, another struggle there on that serve recovery from Collier. Just wasn't able to get that ball up. Kind of came out as a line drive again off of the serve.
Here's Maylee Chan for the Badgers. Green Bay's on it. And Chan sprawling out. Now from the other side. Battle of the liberos here. Green Bay caught out a system. Booth wants to make them pay. Triumphant clap from Katie Schmitz. Another nice play, and Green Bay gets the job done.
Fantastic job there by the Phoenix, just hanging in. And once again, Katie Schmitz just responding to every one of Carter Booth's swings, and the resilience of this Phoenix group in the first set, Vince.
Sophomore from Appleton is feeling it. They made that receive and then just that clap immediately afterwards. They know that they're on a heater right now.
Gotta love a little bit of swagger here in a matchup like this.
Emma Johnson on the serve. Here's Fearbringer. Quest again, got it.
Great swing there from Quest. Getting that ball to ricochet off the hands of Schultz and Newman. Wisconsin looking here now, the magic number being 2 to put this one away.
Green Bay's put up a heck of an effort. Wisconsin now 2 points away from taking set number 1. Quest to serve. Staying alive, that's Vahavik, unable to tap it over.
Yeah, I think it's about 3 times this set, Vince, that Wisconsin just not giving it enough to get that over the net there on the attack, and Green Bay continues to hang around.
There's not been an incredibly clean set for the Badgers. 5 attacking errors, 3 service errors. And there's another point for Green Bay. Suddenly, it's a 4-point game. The momentum killer for the Phoenix.
Yeah, tough break there from Katie Schultz, and you have that 2-0 run there now, and Wisconsin gets a set point serve.
Crowd on its feet here in the field house. The Serbian at the service line. Kirsten Fish this time, getting it down the line.
Yeah, just this resilience from this Phoenix group. Just continue to hang around as you see Abby Sutherland stepping out onto the floor, giving her team a little bit of encouragement here. Not going away, Vince.
Schmitz, 19 aces on the year, 41 errors. Collier gets blocked!
And once again, Vince, it's Kirsten Fish, Diane Pitchelman as well, in on the block for the Phoenix.
Green Bay has came to play in set number 1. Setter dump, and Charlie Fearbringer calls set. Wisconsin able to take it 25-21, but what a job by the Green Bay Phoenix.
Yeah, just what a gritty performance from this group in the first set. Just anytime it felt like Wisconsin was going to go on their run to close it away, they just continue to hang around, ultimately losing the set. You got to love the competitiveness from your group, for your head coach, Abby Sutherland.
Charlie Fearbringer, that's her second kill of the set. Katie Schultz and Kirsten Fishtow for Green Bay, each 4 kills apiece, hitting .571 and .500 respectively. Take a break. Back with you in a bit on Big Ten Plus. Back in Madtown, the Wisconsin Badgers taking on the Green Bay Phoenix in a fun exhibition battle at the Fieldhouse Vince Hesprick with Trey Keenis. We're back a bit early because we want to spotlight one of the Badgers on this team. Now, maybe a little bit of a under the hood look as well, where the Badgers, they lost Yulia Orzol last year, and my favorite bit to do on a broadcast is you got your name of the player, you got your position, you got your year, then you got the high school. And for Yulia Orzol, it was always fun pronouncing Licem Ułomistowskie Mistrzowska Sportowego, which was the high school, of course, that she performed at. Now, the Badgers, they got themselves a new Polish player in Tosia Serafinowska. So what I want you to do, Trey, try and pronounce the high school. I circled it for you right here.
I'm going to go with Siskola Mistrzowska.
All right, I'd say that's pretty darn close. You want to try the middle school?
I mean, golly,
right
we're going all the way back there. I mean, that's Nia Witsta Swoze Prachi.
Pronounced that pretty well?
Okay, we'll give it.
That's not actually her middle school.
Oh,
that's actually I hate my job in Polish.
Oh. Well, I mean, looks like I'm going to have a call with our producers after this broadcast, so I sincerely apologize.
Yeah, having a little fun during an exhibition, but yeah, it's great to see the way the Badgers have kind of embraced the international game while also having those whole town folks as well on Madison Quest. And I'll tell you what, Madison Quest, 4 kills, leads their team 444 hitting percentage in set number 1. And just being able to mix those players from your hometown, then going all the way across the globe. It's real fun the way these Badger teams are constructed, the way they're still able to find that chemistry.
Yeah, and that's just the beauty. Again, we talked about this earlier in the first set about having these spring matches because there is so much turnover, especially in the nature of college sports today, where you now get the opportunity, especially in the spring, to kind of get your group kind of consolidated together, figure out kind of where some of your struggles were from last year, some players you're bringing in, and you're able to just kind of get this fluidity. You know, you talk about the importance of that in the spring because you don't get to have contact in the summer with your players. So, you want to be able to establish a foundation in scrimmages and moments like these, so when you get back to the fall and hit the ground running, it's not like, you're starting the car for the first time.
Now, we talk about the Badgers a lot, but you just can't say enough about the job that Green Bay did in that set number 1. Fell 21-25, but boy, I'll tell you what, Kennedy Schmitz, just a highlight factory out there so far.
Yeah, fantastic job from Kennedy Schmitz. I mean, she's just laying out in all facets of the game on the defensive side for the Phoenix. I mean, there's just really not much else you can ask for. I mean, incredibly competitive first set, and you just really emphasize the importance of the competitiveness. Abby Sutherland, that's all she wanted to talk about in our call this week was just be competitive. You guys work hard. Go out and show it on the hardwood. And, again, there are no moral victories in sports, Vince, unless we can agree to disagree on that. But you love what you see out of the competitive nature of this group.
We're going to talk a lot about Abby Sutherland throughout this contest, but it's clear that she's trying to preach culture, respecting everyone, and going out of her way. A couple green flags for her is that on their coaching website, they talk about the student volunteer assistants are listed as coaches. Van Ramaker and Cameron Paulson. I hope those got their names correctly, but just kind of what you see from these Green Bay teams, these smaller Wisconsin schools, they know what they have to do to get themselves on the mat. They know how to build that culture. And I'll tell you what, you talk about Abby Sutherland trying to do what's right. I mean, she talked to us for like 30 minutes, Trey. She talked to us, just 2 hooligans, and she had some really great stuff to say, not just about coaching and Green Bay, but life as well.
Yeah, I mean, just really a complete open book, and an incredible shout-out to Abby Sutherland. And, she, even during the conversation, she was like, don't apologize for asking more questions. This is my life. I love talking about it. And it's just a fantastic conversation, and you talk about her time, being from West Bend, Wisconsin, kind of her entire family moving up to Green Bay with her when she took that job. Just the importance of how she values family and, then kind of translates that over to her coaching and, how she tries to establish a culture here at Green Bay and has continued on that culture.
Head coach at Southern Miss from 2010-2012 decided to go back to Wisconsin, spend some time with the family, spent some very productive years with UW-Stevens Point, and now head coach of Green Bay, where his program has been as consistent as it gets. Wisconsin got themselves a block to get us going. Back row attack fired out of bounds.
Yeah, that's one of those things for Wisconsin, just been a little bit too strong. And you talked to Gary White on the flip side of it, and he just really emphasized the importance of playing clean volleyball. He really liked that first set and that last scrimmage against Marquette, but felt that sets 2 and 3, weren't clean and that they were a little sloppy and out of system more often than they should have been. And, maybe that's parallel to what we saw in the first set, just a little, sloppy from Wisconsin. But, again, give credit to Green Bay and, forcing Wisconsin out of system.
Got ourselves a fun rally going on. Green Bay looking to tie this one up. Back row attack, blocked once more, up in the air, it's a joust, and they'll say the Badgers touched the net. That'll be a point for Green Bay. How about that?
Yeah, again, just fantastic resilience from Green Bay there on that last set, and you really give a ton of credit to Kirsten Fish. She's done a fantastic job on both sides of the net, Vince, and really just, giving Wisconsin all they can handle on that front line.
Fish 4 kills, 444 kill percentage. Back line pretty well for the Phoenix. That one tapped over the top by Katie Schultz. Now Collier blocked once more. Badgers retain. Collier another swing. Now Schmitz will reset. Ooh, awful close for Katie Schultz. See, they take another look at it. In the meantime, it's a point for the Badgers.
Yeah, good effort here from Schultz, trying to cut that ball on the inside of that Wisconsin block, but just too strong and too deep.
Mimi Collier to serve once more. Hitting negative 067 so far. Team leader in kills so far in this game with 4. 5 errors though as well. That's her in the back row setting it up. Fearbringer to Quest. Now a block out of bounds off the Badger block at that. Kirsten Fish another kill. And Green Bay ties it at 3.
Yeah, once again, we just talked about Kirsten Fish, and again, attacking that Wisconsin block and trying to play that outside and make it, tough for that Wisconsin block if they miss to recover. And, now we're evened at 3, Vince, and just, again, Phoenix team just not quitting.
Their team's hitting 119, but Fish hitting 500 now. This time they'll load up to best. And it's another kill. Green Bay takes an early lead now in set number 2.
Yeah, fantastic job there from the Phoenix, getting the Badgers out of system there. And again, just a tough handle there from Collier, and no one from Wisconsin able to get that one as it sails out of bounds.
Always tough trying to read Kelly Sheffield, one of the more locked-in coaches around, but I'm sure he'd love to see his team get rolling. That said, was out of bounds, awful close. I'll say it might have been off of Green Bay. Now we're tied up at 4 apiece.
Yeah, that's one of the things about Kelly Sheffield. The experience as a coach, not too much to get rattled. You understand, obviously the importance of this game, playing well, but you don't want to stay too high or too low, and, stay the course as always.
Chen to serve, and you just can't say enough about how fantastic Badger coach is just for the game of volleyball as a whole. I mean, Coach Kelly Sheffield seems like a very serious guy, but he's been quick to promote the game as well, show that personality. I'm never going to forget when he went on social media, I think it was 2 years ago, and said, tip for everyone, make sure that not to leave your roof off if you're going through a car wash. And just didn't elaborate. That's kind of the personality that you want to see your coach bring.
Yeah,
He's a character in the best possible way.
Hey, coaches and players are humans too. I mean, they're not just, on TV and competitors, so like the rest of us, sometimes they leave their roof open when they go through a car wash.
Addie Horner from Wheaton, Illinois. You say like the rest of us as Green Bay takes their lead. I have not ever done that, Trey. Have you?
I mean, I wasn't necessarily referencing myself.
Okay.
But, so sometimes I've been known to be a little bit clumsy here and there and doing some things that, you just gotta laugh yourself off. And maybe not one of those. Leaving your roof open in a car wash may be a little bit more serious, but.
Meanwhile, Jessica Kerpaigas, an ace to her name out of Chicago, Illinois. Redshirt sophomore getting the job done.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You look at this Green Bay roster, and with the likes of Kirpakis as well as Gardner, both their older sisters were seniors on this last year's group from the Phoenix, and just generations upon generations taking part in the Abby Sutherland tradition here in Green Bay.
That's Pitchelman recognizing the gap on the left side of the floor. Great awareness there. And the lead now up to 3 for the Phoenix. But hear the O's raining down here. It's never booze with Carter Booth. Badge letting you know that they got some respect for this team's arguably their best defensive player.
Yeah, Carter Booth doing what she does best, losing her length to her advantage, and Green Bay having no chance getting that one.
Booth, 4 kills on 6 swings. So credit with just 1 block. She's been close on a couple of these. That'll go off the Badger block and out of bounds. Another kill to the name of Emma Best. Best now up to 3 on the day. So interesting about this 3-point lead that Green Bay's guys are hitting. 0.67 right now in the set, but Badgers negative 0.83. Fearbringer looking to change out with a back row attack. Launches right back to the Badger side. This time it's Booth on the slide.
Best job there from Carter Booth on the attack, but give credit to Jessica Kirpakis there. Before that last one had laid out for one prior. And just the effort from Green Bay, again, is just continuing to make this tough for Wisconsin as getting everything they can handle.
This will be Grace Egan to serve now for the Badgers. Egan, not a ton of playing time so far. A real nice serve, but received well. Now across the green, and that'll be out of bounds.
Yeah, Pitchelman trying to stretch that one across the floor there, and just a little bit strong now as the Badgers are closing the gap here on that Phoenix lead.
Egan, a redshirt freshman out of Sterling, Illinois, transfer from Ohio State. Another rocket of a serve. And pushed over the top. Emma Best sprawling out once more. This time not able to come up with it. The Badgers tied up at 9.
Yeah, great run there from Wisconsin, and just talk about putting pressure on that back line of the Phoenix, and you saw Best creeping up there a little bit, just out of reach.
Grace Egan to serve it once more. You can tell that she's got some serious firepower. And that time,
a little bit too much firepower.
Strong. Yep. Good awareness from Green Bay. That was a close one. Badgers now up to 5 service errors on the day. That'll be Pitchelman to serve. Pitchelman, pardon. Now that a bit too strong from Mimi Collier. You can tell she's been trying to get herself going. That's attempt number 16 for her on the day, but not quite as much success as we're prone to seeing from her.
Yeah, Collier there again, 16 attempts and only 4 kills, and just a little bit too strong once again from Wisconsin.
Collier looking to change it. Chan again, she's quietly had herself a heck of a performance from that libero position. Been a fun battle, the liberos so far. That's Olivia Newman tapping it over. Back row attack, perfectly placed.
Great swing there from Vahagic. Keeping that ball just inside the box for Wisconsin.
Una Vahagic, team high 6 kills. Leads both teams as well, very quietly at that. Wisconsin still down 1, that's Fearbringer. Setting up Collier off the block and out of bounds.
Good effort there from the Phoenix on the block, but just the velocity on the swing from Collier too much for that Phoenix block.
And that was so fun listening to the broadcast when Coach Sheffield kind of had to do an interview with the Big Ten Network crew, and when they asked him about Collier, they just asked what she brings to the team, and he just kind of smirked and giggled a little bit. I think he knows that he's got a heck of a player on his hands. It's the Badger team. When you lose players like Sarah Franklin, Anna Smrek, Devin Robinson, CeCe Crawford, the list goes on, you need that stud to try and get that replacement, and it's clear they've got themselves one.
Yeah, it's always great, Vince, as a coach. You go through the process of recruiting and then bringing a player in and developing them through their freshman to senior year. But the beauty of the transfer portal is you can sometimes just go out and grab a 3-time All-American and then insert them right into your lineup. And, not necessarily to that extent what we've seen today from Collier, but we'll definitely, have a lot to look forward to over the course of the rest of spring and into the fall with just her past success at Oregon.
Badgers tied at 12. That's got to be stressful for the coaches, though, as well. And you're losing so many players. And, yeah, sure, you're bringing in a ton of talented freshmen, Wisconsin is. That said, though, you always want to be competing right now. So for the Badgers, you have a lot of vacancies, but it's almost like if the CEO at a big company steps down, obviously you're going to have yourself a lot of high-quality applicants, as Emma Best unable to dodge that serve. Now Wisconsin takes the lead.
Yeah, it was an awkward dig attempt there from Best. Maybe wasn't expecting the ball to come right to her, and just a bit out of play there.
Collier having herself a nice run at the service line. That'll be a back row attack from Best. Too much mustard on it.
Not too strong there from Best, as now Wisconsin has kind of regained their lead and looking to get some momentum to head in their direction here. As a little bit of a slow start for the Badgers, but again, give credit to Green Bay for the competitive nature of this group.
Green Bay led by as much as 3 in this set. 3-0 spurt for the Badgers. Collier looking to keep it going. Kirsten Fish, something to say about that, though.
Yeah, and that's just been it. Kirsten Fish has been one of those players for Green Bay. You obviously talked about, Schultz and Pitchelman, but she's been a fantastic player for the Phoenix this afternoon. Make that 6 kills, leading the team on 11 attempts, 545 hit percentage for Fish.
Oh, Charlie Furbringer setting up the Hagic again. It'll be a timeout for Green Bay. The Serbian letting it fly. Badgers lead 15-13. We're going to keep it here because it was so great talking with Abby Sutherland, but maybe my favorite part was just to her talk about the pride that she had for the city of Green Bay as a whole. So you had to ask her. I mean, big week for Green Bay. Got the NFL draft coming to town. Ask her, is she going to be there for that? And she just said absolutely 100% yes. It's clear this is a team that has embraced the city that they're in, and it's clear there's a lot of passion for athletics in that town.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, especially being in a city like Green Bay with just the history that town has with their football team. You have a great opportunity to get yourselves out in the community, not only to experience it, but also to grow the nature of your program. As you're now going to look at Kelly Sheffield and just look at that win percentage, Vince, 824. I mean, talk about excellence year after year. Kelly Sheffield now is just in his 12th year at Wisconsin, but there's just really, not many boxes left to be checked for Sheffield. You talk about winning the Big Ten championships. You talk about winning the national championship. All the All-Americans, the Olympic, players he's produced. Just a fantastic tenure at Wisconsin, and he's just not done yet.
And he's shown his coaching prowess in the present as well. You can see him talking with Charlie Furbringer, and he ran that 6-2 system for a long time, but he recognized this is the Badger team that needed a setter after Izzy Ashburn graduated 2 years ago. Charlie Furbringer was coming in. They just recognized that she had so much talent that it was worth moving their system around for us. They went to the 5-1, and they had some success playing their best volleyball at the end of the year. Wound up falling to Nebraska, but still another successful season.
Yeah, no, and you're never going to complain. I know Wisconsin wants to play at that national championship level, but an Elite Eight's an Elite Eight, Vince. And, you lose a team like Nebraska who had a historic season as well. Sometimes it just is what it is, but again, Charlie Furbringer being one of the players brought in by Sheffield last year that you knew was going to be, a program player, not just for last year, but for the years to come. So sometimes you just have to adjust and, put your best players in positions to be successful, and that means maybe changing the system.
And think about the pressure that Furbringer was under as you've got this dominant program, these dominant players, and they're changing their system around for a freshman who hasn't had any collegiate action to that point. And that's a well-placed serve to give the Badgers a lead up to 3 now.
Yeah, fantastic play serve there. I mean, from Miley Chan, just really painting the lines there, and fantastic touch now. She's inserted herself into the lineup.
We've talked about this libero battle we've had so far, and Meili Chen, maybe not quite as much fanfare for her as we've given to Kennedy Schmitz, but quietly leading both teams in digs with 12, earns herself a service ace right there. Now Chen will duck out of the way, and Booth, a little bit too strong out of bounds.
Yeah, that's been the thing for Wisconsin this evening, just a bit too strong on the outsides with some of their swings, and it's just been one of those things that keeps Green Bay around in this contest when you just have opportunities to close the door and make mistakes like that.
That's the aforementioned Kennedy Schmitz, the one to serve. And Green Bay, they call that timeout like Wisconsin, kind of getting in their groove a bit. Now that lead up to 3 for the Badgers.
Yeah, give credit to Booth there, just going right at Emma Johnson, freezing her with the velocity on that one, and looks like Booth had a little bit of a response there after the last one.
Well, you say freeze, but not sure how much you can do when Carter Booth is firing it from point-blank range. And that was, for the Badgers, the freshman, Addie Horner, out of Wheaton, Illinois, gets herself a service ace.
Yeah, great job there from Horner, stepping into the lineup as a freshman and, making an immediate impact for this Badger squad.
Well, another timeout here. Let's talk a bit about Green Bay, talk about that culture that they have, but they've been really focused, especially in recent years, on trying to grow that mental side of the game. Obviously something that was kind of unspoken about for quite a while, and something that was kind of personal for Abby Sutherland to share with us is that for a long time, if a player were to tell her that they had lost their love for the game, kind of one of those things where it's like, come on, you kidding me? It's volleyball. But now in recent years, she said that she understands that perspective a lot more. She understands how important it is to get these players in that mindset. And their mental performance consultant also listed on the support staff on their roster, Cody Newton. She's had a ton of fantastic stuff to say about him. He's now doing some work for the Olympics, I believe. Yeah,
and that's always a good thing. You have one of the best in the business when you have someone on your staff that can now do it at a national level and at the Olympic level. It doesn't get much higher than that. Cody Newton worked with some Olympic athletes and, primarily just on life after, their athletics. And, who are you when, you're not playing sports? And that's one of the things Sutherland also talked about. I mean, again, cannot say enough, but just the importance of not letting volleyball be the only thing in your life. She talked about how they put their players through different exercises, such as learning how to, salsa dance and juggling and playing golf. I mean, just random activities that, you just get your players involved doing different things, get them comfortable so they're not just defined by one thing. But also, as, coach myself and Vince, you probably experienced in playing sports, multiple sports, the importance of doing, not specializing in one thing, doing different things can help you to kind of build skills that you wouldn't experience in just playing one sport.
Friend, I appreciate the sentiment, but if you were going to me as someone who is knowledgeable of being a good athlete, you have gone to the wrong person. Another serve for the Badgers. They're up 4. Back row attack, never a bad idea. If Earbringer shoots it up, and that swing out of bounds.
Spit strong there from Wisconsin out of the timeout. And
now you talk about that personal side, trying to get these players ready for life after volleyball, and I think something that Abby Sutherland said, highest compliment that she's gotten as a coach is she was talking with some of the folks at Northwest Mutual for an event and just talking about the leaders on this Green Bay team, that one of the executives told her that they consider the leaders on Green Bay, quote, boardroom ready. So these skills that you're learning in volleyball, maybe not exactly if you're going to have that office job one day or wherever you're going, might not be able to drop that serve as a big part of what you're doing if you're 9 to 5. That said, the habits involved the important thing. It's clear that these players, just looking at some of the GPAs attached to them out of high school, it's clear that they got some high character folks.
Yeah, and that's certainly a big compliment as a coach, because you don't even want to have great players, you want to have great people. And that's something, for Abby Sutherland, that when the ball stops bouncing and the careers are over for some of these players, that who are you and, what do you stand for, what are you going to do, and what are you going to impact? And, getting a compliment for something like that as a coach, I think, is something she takes great pride in and is continuing to build on with her program.
Meanwhile, Katie Schultz, a service ace. She smashed that hardwood afterwards. Getting fired up. Her team got the deficit to just 1. Phoenix caught out of system. Badgers looking to respond. That's Booth. Able to get it off that block, but off the wrong side of the net, and Badgers able to win back some of that momentum.
And Booth just so powerful with their swing, attacking that block of Green Bay, and it got the wrong side of the net there, but just giving that Phoenix block all they can handle here this evening.
Verhaeghe to serve. Received well. This is Best. Blocked. Put out of bounds, and Green Bay gets it right back down to 1.
Yeah, and just a strategy of Green Bay on the attack with their swings, trying to play the outside of that Wisconsin block, not trying to force it back inside of the defense, and using the line to their advantage for a couple points here in the second set.
Now Emma Best will head to the service line. And will it be an ace? You betcha. We are tied at 19. Green Bay coming in. They want to represent their school, represent their conference well. They have tied up set number 2. And now a point away from taking the lead. Emma Best once more. Mimi Collier. Wisconsin goes to their bread and butter.
Yeah, and Collier hasn't been to her liking this afternoon in terms of her standards, but has been a part of some key moments for Wisconsin on these Phoenix runs, just shutting down the gap and getting Wisconsin back in control.
Now the Badgers will turn it over to the rocket arm of Grace Egan. That one off the scoreboard. Something you always got to look out for when you're playing in this arena is that if it's off the Jumbotron here, that is a live ball and maybe, I guess, a bit of a change-up and a home court advantage for the Badgers.
Yeah, tough break there from that Phoenix defense. You know, you have to play all the elements, Vince, even when you're indoors, and a tough one off the scoreboard now, but Wisconsin regains control of their lead as they look to put this one away here out of the timeout.
And let's talk about the field house a bit. It's clear that when you get the folks in here, they're just, it's thunderous. I remember the first game I did here, there was a slight issue. We were having trouble with the headset for a point or two, and I basically had to scream in my partner's ear. We were right next to each other, just trying to hear each other, and this place gets fired up. So we're at a point right now where we talk about obviously very fun battle between two Wisconsin foes, but still an exhibition in spring, and still have the lower bowl basically just about full here with a whole chunk of green shirts as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the culture, right? That's a testimony to the culture that Coach Sheffield's established, as well as Coach Sutherland's. You see a great turnout from Green Bay. Now, it doesn't hurt when your universities are in the same respective states, so it's just a short drive, down 151.
Not that short.
So, a couple hours.
Well, it's a little ways there, you're saying.
A couple hours on an afternoon, hopefully beat the traffic from rush hour. But, that's the beauty of it. And, just kind of to your point about, just the thunderous environment here, even with we'll call it a 75% filled lower bowl. I mean, just people showing up on a day like this where this doesn't count towards your regular season record, but just out here supporting your team, supporting the program. That's just a testament to the job that Kelly Sheffield's done in building the foundation of the program and sustaining this foundation over the course of his tenure.
And Coach Sheffield was flying solo in the press conference after that battle against Marquette because he had all of his players talk to the fans, sign some autographs, do some talking. But I think he also recognizes that having a full arena, a fired up arena is passionate about this team, you can't put a number on how many points it's worth. As Wisconsin, a service error, that'll quiet the crowd.
Yeah, just to kind of wrap that up, Vince, there's the impact of home court advantage, and that's just what makes playing at the Fieldhouse so special. You know that it's going to be a packed house night in, night out, and you're going to have to bring your best game.
That one just barely sneaks over off the arm of Pitchelman. And a miscommunication between Green Bay. That said, well placed between two back row players.
Yeah, fantastic swing there from Collier, just between the back row attack of Best and Pitchelman. Magic number now 3 for Wisconsin.
The Badgers got maybe their best server at the line, Fierbringer. It's a good one. Back row attack from Best, it's blocked. This time it's Tosha Serafinowska teaming up for a solo block.
Yeah, Serafinowska name we haven't called that often this evening, but when we have, it's been in positive nature.
Fierbringer to serve once more. And this time Wisconsin able to get that block down the opposing side. Green Bay cuts it to 2. And another 21-point set. They still got some breathing room as well.
Yeah, again, Katie Scholz just doing a fantastic job in the Wisconsin block. Her and Fish each with 6 kills alike here in the second set.
And it's an ace. Emma Johnson, the one at the controls. And suddenly Green Bay, a chance to tie it here.
Great job there from Emma Johnson, not playing at a specific player, but playing to the space between the front and back line of Wisconsin.
Emma Johnson again. Furbringer on the way down. Collier. And it is set point Wisconsin. Green Bay has given them all that they can handle, but the Badgers just 1 point away from slamming the door shut.
Great opportunity here for the Badgers now to put this one away and further another Phoenix comeback.
Here's Collier to serve. Well done from who else? Kirsten Fish.
And great touch from Fish. You know, she obviously tried to take a big swing at it, but using the touch to her advantage, fading between the gap of the block and the back line. Green Bay just hanging around, Vince. Give the Phoenix all the credit.
And her hit percentage rises to .583. We talk about no moral victories in this game. Green Bay an opportunity here. That one pushed back to the Badgers. Furbringer for set two, still alive. Out. And a touch to the net, and Wisconsin able to take set number two by the skin of their teeth.
Great resiliency from the Badgers here. You know, Green Bay, you talk about all the rungs the Phoenix went on, keeping themselves in that set, but the Badgers ultimately closing the door on that one.
Green Bay 21 points in set number one, 23 in set number two. They are looking good so far. That said, the hometown Badgers right now in the driver's seat. They lead 2-0 as we'll take a break, head to intermission. You're tuned into Big Ten Plus. Back in Madison, Wisconsin, where the Badgers lead 2-0 over the Green Bay Phoenix. Back a bit early here. Exhibition bell between these two teams. And, of course, the date today is April 22nd, which means that graduation is arriving. This is kind of a spooky time of year for these teams as some of the program's all-time greats leave for wherever they wind up going. There's an element of finality to it all. That said, it's something that we face even just at the college level, not just in athletics, but across the board as well. And, Trey, this is at Big Ten Student U, the last game for two people on our staff here, Jadius McGee and our producer, Bryn Sproul. So, of course, it's okay. We got 2 minutes left. I'm going to tell a quick story about each of them. The last broadcast here, start with my guy, Jadius McGee. Now, Jadius, gives 100% just about everything. My favorite story is that we had a basketball game, men's hoops. It was November 7th, and the game was at 7. We had an intramural basketball game immediately after. And Jace, you could tell he was fired up, ready to roll. That said, there was a post-game interview afterwards. He was helping out on the sideline, and he was so antsy to get going, but he stuck around. He made sure he got it right. He helped get our sideline reporter, Sophia Ross, a great fit to a reel. Did an interview with, I believe, Kamari McGee for that game, and I could just see on my monitor, as soon as he was done, he was all clear, he checked in, and then boom, out the door. I believe he had like 20 points for us in that game. He was nuts. And for Bryn Sproul, probably someone who's the most personal and down to the fine details as you could have as a producer. I'd say the big story with her is I remember I like to try to walk around the concourse a bit, talk to the control room a bit, just so I can get those names down for the end of the game, give them some shout-outs. And I remember I was especially late for a broadcast early on. I was kind of panicking, just trying to get there in time. On my way to the control room, Bryn told me, she handed me a script and said, oh, just so you know, I wrote down the name of all the people so that way you can shout them out at the end to save you some time. So we're going to lose two good ones here at Big Ten Student U. Obviously excited to be back next year, Trey, you and I, but just had that revolving door going. It stings a little bit, never quite the same when you start to lose some people who mean a lot to you.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, all good things or great things must come to an end. And, two remarkable individuals, JDS and Bryn, who have left an unthinkable mark on this program that's run by students and has just made such a lasting impact. Been incredibly fortunate to be able to work with both of them, over the course of my tenure here at Wisconsin. And, again, I know that while it is unfortunate that, they are moving on, that they're going to be doing great things in the next chapter of their lives. So once again, shout out to both of them, and always a pleasure to be able to work alongside them as well as all the others that make this production happen, Vince. It's an incredible thing that is going on here at University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Yeah, you said a fun opportunity. Meanwhile, we got ourselves a fun game on our hands. Set number 2 in the books. Badgers take it 25-23. It was a real back-and-forth battle. There was a whole bunch of lead changes. You got to give a ton of credit to Green Bay. They called some timeouts. The momentum was flipped. They were well coached. I felt like Wisconsin, whenever they were pulling away, Green Bay had an answer. That said, Wisconsin, when it came down to crunch time, tied 23 apiece, they get 2 and wind up taking it.
Yeah, and that's just a testament to the resiliency of Wisconsin. I mean, truly a team in Green Bay that's given the Badgers all they can handle here in this home contest. And Wisconsin, again, time and time again, when they've gotten those responses from the Phoenix, has been able to shut the door through the first 2 sets. But on the flip side, I have to give credit to Green Bay. I mean, this is a group that you talk about with loss of production for the Badgers. They've also lost a couple of key players as well. And you've had a couple players such as like Kirsten Fish, who stepped in and been a huge, addition to this group in the spring and has, leading the team in kills this evening. You also talk about, Kennedy Schmitz on the defensive side with 9 digs. I mean, there's just been a plethora of players on the side for Green Bay that, have been on full display this evening.
Both these teams under their regular hit percentage. Wisconsin 230 on the day. That'll move it up a little bit. Green Bay 138. But in the middle of that, Kirsten Fish, 7 kills, just 1 error on 13 swings. That's good for a 462 hit percentage. She has really provided some value efficiency to this offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just one of those things, Vince, you just look at, the next person up in a group like this, and Kirsten Fish has had a nice evening so far.
That says the Badgers out to this quick start. Freshman Addie Horner, another service ace to her name. Just one of these exciting Badger freshmen to keep an eye on. Not just this year, but in the years to come as well. But of course, when you're a freshman, always that room for improvement. Get yourself a service error.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, you put yourself in a place like this at University of Wisconsin. There's obviously going to be high pressure, high expectations, but, on the flip side, that's why you have great opportunities for growth like this. Put Horner in a situation in a match like this against Green Bay and just continue to grow and develop as a young freshman.
Fearbringer tried to stuff it over, but Green Bay read it well. That was Emma Best earning 1/2 of that block.
Fantastic job there from Emma Best. I feel like we've been calling her name a lot on the offensive and defensive side. Vince has been incredibly involved in this Phoenix group this evening and has had a lot of great plays for this team.
Schultz now to serve, looking to get her going. 6 kills, 4 errors on 17 swings. Wisconsin able to cash in once more.
It looks a little miscommunication there from that Phoenix defense there from Fish and Karpakis, and Wisconsin now seemingly settle in here.
Egan to serve again for the Badgers, giving her a lot of time at the service line. You can see why right there. Booth fires it forward, but Schmitz is on it. And that one launching into the seats.
Great swing there from Fish once again, going right at Verhaegvik. and just out of reach there from the freshman.
Kirsten Fish, 6'2". You can tell she got some hops there, setting herself up. Phoenix able to keep it alive. Now on the slide, this is Booth. She's got it.
Yeah, that's just the problem with Carter Booth is that when you're just the tallest player out on the court, you're able to climb the ladder and then some and see over the top of the block, and Booth there is just perfect placement there on the kill.
And for the Badgers, they're making themselves a change. They're going to go to Una Vahagic as libero. Saw her sub out for a second there. Valiant job from, that was
Miley Chan.
Miley Chan, thank you, number 18. Had herself 12 digs, and Badgers trying to get everybody a look here. Back row doing its job. Badgers still cut out a system. Now Green Bay to tie it up. Another miscommunication. The Phoenix get back to work. Best again, tapped over the top. Kept alive by Serafinowska. And pushed over the top, but pushed through the defense. Madison Quest.
Yeah, great touch there from Quest, but once again going to give credit to the defensive side of things. Grace Egan laying out on that dig earlier in that possession, saving the ball from falling down in Wisconsin territory, and the Badgers ultimately capitalizing.
Now Miley Chan was just a libero before. She'll head to the service line. Chan now setting up Collier. Tapped it over the top.
Fantastic touch there from Collier right over the top of the Green Bay block, in between that block and the second line, and just puts them in an awkward position. Wisconsin adding to their lead.
Now Madison Quest again, 5 kills on the day, 294 hit percentage at 400 against Marquette. Furbringer to Collier, going to see that connection a whole lot this fall.
Collier now up to 10 kills on the afternoon as we're going to get a timeout here from Sutherland.
Well, Green Bay sets 1 and 2, making their presence felt. Trying to do it again in set number 3, but Wisconsin, it just seems like they're playing a lot more streamlined here in this third set, Trey.
Yeah, there's finally seeming like they're settling in, Vince, and just you talk about the impact of Collier kind of struggling in those first couple sets now. Then continue to go at her and just being able to work out the kinks, and fantastic swing there on that last possession. But that's just it. You know, you obviously want to work through, you know, the good, but you also have some moments where you're going to have some growing pains, and kind of working through the system as a whole, as, you know, that's just what this spring's all about.
Take a look at the Badgers season stats. Obviously the thing that jumps out right there is the blocks per set, over 3 for the Badgers. We're talking about all the talented players that they've lost, and Sarah Franklin, Anna Smrek, Devin Robinson. Cece Crawford, also a big one for them. She was fantastic up front on the defensive side. Badgers right now with 6 blocks on the day, these 2 sets. So it's going to be something interesting to see. That said, Wisconsin, I feel like right now what they're thinking is that they had themselves that 26-win season last year. I think they'll admit that the block not quite going to be as generationally incredible as it was last year, but you can still get it to a point where it can get the job done like it has at times today. You had the Big Ten season, and then you add that fantastic back row that they now have. There's no way that the Badgers are incapable of building upon that 26-win season they had last year.
Yeah, that's the thing, Vince. Obviously, you're not going to have Anna Smrek at 6'9", CeCe Crawford, Devin Robinson, but you can still find the same success. You just have to reinvent yourselves a little bit, and I think that's the beauty of Kelly Sheffield and to testament the job he's done in the transfer portal this offseason, just finding players that fit his system and that ultimately help them to reload for this upcoming fall season.
There's a coach who can do that. It's absolutely Kelly Sheffield. Big swing for Green Bay.
Kirsten Fish once again attacking that Badgers back line with this kill. And Grace Egan unable to hold on to that one.
And Abby Sutherland's doing a heck of a job here with the timeouts. It feels like that whenever Green Bay calls that timeout, they come back and able to get that kill right away. Badgers will try the other side. Collier!
Great swing there from Collier, attacking that back line, climbing the ladder, and a bit of authority there out of the reach but looks like to be Emma Johnson.
Charlie Furbringer had herself 4 aces against Marquette. There she is on the defensive side, laying out. Collier again, too strong.
Yeah, Collier having great third sets thus far, and, you know, what we would call maybe in basketball a little bit of a heat check there, giving that one a little bit too much mustard out of the reach in play.
Collier 148 hit percentage after hitting negative throughout a lot of this contest. Collier again off the block. She's heating up.
And she's just getting comfortable, right? Obviously, you can go in there and swing with a bunch of power and see what happens, but you also got to use the touch to your advantage. And just a fantastic play there from Collier using the touch on the outside of the Green Bay block. Wisconsin now in a bit of a run here.
Collier will check out of the game, perhaps to a nice ovation as well. This crowd knows their volleyball. Now this will be Lola Schumacher. Haven't seen her too much today. Expect her to be a big part of that Badger back line.
Yeah, Big Ten all freshmen. You talk about Furbringer and Schumacher were a big part of that.
Schumacher, Furbringer, Grace Egan.
And there's one thing about Grace Egan, Vince. It's that, I mean, when she swings, it's coming out, and it's coming out hot. Green Bay sends that one into the stands off of the swing.
Schumacher setting up Egan again, and she gets blocked.
Like Pitchelman and Johnson there on the block, just straight up and down, and right back into Wisconsin territory. No one home for the Badgers.
Well, we talked about how this is going to be real fun to see how Emma Johnson does throughout this contest. Expect her to be the go-to setter this year for Green Bay, and she has played very well. There she is setting up Katie Schultz. She'll get herself an assist.
Again, great touch there from Schultz. We talked about that on the flip side, you know, with Collier, but sometimes you don't have to go hard. You just got to use your touch right over the top of the block there. And, again, that back line for Wisconsin not in play.
Furbringer again, Egan again. Badgers may have found themselves something with this talented redshirt freshman. My goodness.
And Grace Egan just giving that defense all they can handle, catching them out of system.
Behagic now to serve. Given the libero uniform for this third set, and she gets herself a service ace in not so traditional fashion, but they all count the same, 1 point.
Yeah. Using the elements to her advantage, Vince.
And Green Bay will call a timeout as a result. Wisconsin feels like they're dialing in a little bit in this third set. Now it's going to be real interesting to see how Green Bay comes out of this third set. You should mention that against Marquette, the Badgers allowed more points every set they had. First one, Wisconsin took it 25-13. Then it was 25-19. Set number 3, kind of back and forth, 25-21. Wisconsin wound up coming away with it. That said, they had themselves a real fantastic run in the third set with Charlie Furbringer at the service line. No aces to her name in this contest thus far, but that's going to be a real fun part of her game to see evolve. As Coach Sheffield said, she's trying to develop a new serve, kind of more of a off-speed change kind of serve, but to go along with that traditional firepower she's got. So you're a setter, you can have a lot of different ways to impact the game, and Furbringer so far, well, she hasn't been perfect, has been shown why she has been up to the billing so far.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. You talk to Associate Coach Gary White, and it's about avoiding that sophomore slump. One of the things Gary White touched on is building counters into your game. Obviously, Furbringer, a talented freshman, highly touted recruit, and brought a lot to the table already. But now you get into that next season, teams have seen this from film on you. They understand what some of your tendencies are, and now it's about taking your game to the next level and throwing in secondary moves or motives so that it makes you harder to scout, harder to figure out, and that's just that next thing for Furbringer as we come into her sophomore season to take it to the next level.
And that's just kind of something you naturally assume as a player, or I guess maybe not quite as much as a coach. As you have this freshman year, you just expect, okay, I'm just naturally going to be even better. So there's that phrase, sophomore slump. There's a lot of different ways to avoid it. Both coaches had their own ways of talking about it, but it's clear that to avoid it, you got to stay locked in. You're right, develop new pieces to your game, because if you're staying the same, you're really getting worse, because every single team is getting a better understanding of how you play just every single year. That's Schumacher, now a back row attack from Egan. That'll touch off the video board once more, and Carter Booth takes advantage.
Yeah, a couple times we've seen this match. A couple balls off the video board, not falling away for the Phoenix. But again, give great credit there off of that swing earlier in that possession. Carter Booth getting a little lost there. Madison Quest being able to hold on to that ball, keep it in play.
Carter Booth has been quietly dominant. 10 kills on 14 attempts, 643 hit percentage. That's Quest who gets blocked up front.
Give credit again to that front line for Green Bay, and looked like Schultz there and Newman there on the block. But yeah, kind of going back to Carter Booth, you talk about the impact, and it's not just about her as a player and obviously with the season she had last year, but also as a leader. You lose so much from that group last year. Now, Booth, one of the few returning players that, was not a freshman, and just kind of taking that next step, Vince, and being able to lead this group that has a lot of new moving pieces.
Another point for the Badgers. Something that this coaching staff has said as well is that Carter Booth has kind of came into this year the only player who has been on this team for over 365 days. So it's about her trying to step up as a leader. I don't think that's at all an indictment of her in previous seasons, because you have Sarah Franklin, Yulia Orzol, Anna Smrek, Devin Robinson, all these leaders. I mean, you don't exactly need to have too many voices in the room. So I think Booth recognized that this year is kind of her year, final year of eligibility. Egan again, it's another kill. She is dialed in.
Grace Egan settling in here on that third set, and just again, the velocity of the swing from Egan giving all the Phoenix block they can handle.
And it'll be Addie Horner again, has herself 3 aces in the game. Make it 4. Talk about serve receiving, a thing the Badgers have been looking to improve in. Up to 7 service aces now, 8. Freshman will do it again.
Just a bit outside there.
2 Wisconsin teams going at it. There's got to be a Yuka reference in there somewhere.
Yeah, you should have listened to my softball call. I had to throw one in there.
Another Brewers reference. Of course, they got those racing sausages there. That makes that team so gosh darn fun to witness in person. But here at the Fieldhouse, for the media folks who are here early, you kind of get a similar thing, because there's 2 different gates into the Fieldhouse general admission. It's first come, first served for a lot of seats. So you kind of get to see some folks try and get in the doors as fast as possible and literally sprint from one end of the arena to the other to claim that go-to seat opposite of the student section. Too many touches on Green Bay.
Again, a nice no-look play there from Furbringer, and you see it looked like Johnson and Schmitz collided there, both trying to make a play on the ball. That's just that next level stuff, Vince. Obviously you can go with your standard swing, but keeping the defense on your toes. Charlie Furbringer doing a great job of that this evening.
Grace Egan. Service error number 9 for the Badgers. That'll be something they want to clean up.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, there's good and bad with the velocity on Egan's swing, and just the lack of control that is on display sometimes, as Egan's had a handful of service errors this evening.
It could also be a deal with the Badgers in spring, trying to maybe put some extra emphasis, try some new stuff. Green Bay trying to feed that one over. Emma Best not in her range off of Kennedy Schmidt's try.
Yeah, again, good effort there from that Phoenix defense, but been pushing that ball a little bit too far out of play there, where puts themselves in scramble mode. Probably a bit too much than they would like.
Maylee Chan to serve. Had herself a fantastic performance so far. 13 digs to her name. That leads both teams. No chance for her, though. That one powered down the line.
Great job there from that Phoenix attack, as once again, Kirsten Fish attacking that Badgers block and playing that to the outside, doing a great job.
Fish has been great in every single set. Up to double-digit kills, 26 for Green Bay, 43 for the Badgers. Looking to make it 44. That's Quest.
Yeah, you talk a lot about, Booth and Collier on the attack, but Quest, when having her name called, has done a nice job as well. And, again, you talk about the freshman and the impact that has, but does a great job cutting that ball back inside there for the kill.
Worth mentioning with Quest having some success here in the spring season, and she's used to playing on the left side but got moved to right after the injury to Grace Lopez. That'll be double-digit service error now for the Badgers, but that's got to be so tough. You're so used to playing on the left side. All these up-front players, you would assume that they're the best hitters on their team. We've seen a lot of players playing that left side, so that's a big change going to the right, but Quest has handled it incredibly well.
Yeah, you talk about that big change, but also to have that change come in your freshman season, too, and being able to have to handle all of that. Give credit to Quest just being able to adapt on the fly, and has had a huge impact for the Wisconsin offense this evening.
That was Grace Egan again. A lot of different ways to know what player you're watching. You got the jersey number, just their general appearance, but whenever you see something hit that hard, easy to recognize what player that is.
Yeah, and a lot of that, comes from just experience, but you watch Egan swing, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Devin Robinson. You just see her wind up to swing, and you just know it's coming out hot, and the defense is going to have to be ready. And I think, if you're Kelly Sheffield, you talk about replacing the talent you have from last season. I think you'd ask him as well. You'd probably make the same comparison, just with the overall power that comes from the likes of Egan and Robinson.
Nice serve for Pitchelman, and it's a block for the Phoenix. Tosha Serafinowska tried to tap it over, but in the middle, that was Olivia Newman having none of it. Grace Egan is on fire.
Yeah, and Grace Egan has just gotten after it in this third set. I believe that's now her fourth kill in this set, and has really established herself on that offensive attack for Wisconsin.
6 kill on the game, hitting .455. And in the net, that one goes. Service error number 12 now for the Badgers to Green Bay's 4. So you can see the discrepancy. Hit percentage, Wisconsin 279, Green Bay 151. But Wisconsin, they've been doing it to themselves a bit throughout this contest. Kind of a natural thing to say, though, when it comes to spring a lot of new players, especially with so much continuity for the Phoenix. A little bit of dodgeball being played there.
Yeah, a little bit of a rare miss there from Fish on the afternoon, and certainly have had her name called a lot of times for her success, but just a bit strong there on the outside.
Now Zadie Horner able to duck out of the way, and now she'll be at the service line. Another ace for her.
Great touch there from Horner, wedging it right between the likes of Schmitz and Schultz, and just a bit of miscommunication there on that back line there from the Phoenix.
Service ace number 5 for the talented freshman. Badgers with 9 on the game. Able to let loose another rocket. This time Green Bay able to handle it. They'll get themselves a kill. Katie Schultz.
Yeah, and that's a tough one there. You have that block consisting of Egan and Booth, a lot of length and strength up front, and Green Bay just seemingly not going away.
23-17. Green Bay has hung around in this third set as well. Wisconsin just 2 points away. Egan off the block. Phoenix keep it going, and that'll be off the net. It is set point, match point for the Badgers. The Fieldhouse gets on his feet.
Again, a great job there from Egan on that block there, and the amount of success she's had in this third set, Vince, kind of fitting now that she has an opportunity to put this one away here at the service line.
Got it! Who else but Carter Booth to slam the door shut as the Badgers complete a hard-fought sweep over their in-state rivals.
Yeah, and Carter Booth, you talked about her quiet performance on the afternoon, but getting it done on
close to being in total control of this match. And it looks like they're getting the distance.